If you have been on YouTube recently, you might have seen quite a trend over the last months or maybe even some years or so that talks about if video games really gotten worse and if modern games are really worse than, say, modern video, as in old video games from the 2000s and maybe all the 2010s. Now to me, I'm 22 years old. I've been playing video games for almost my entire life. My earliest memory of playing video games is probably playing For Speed Underground on the Xbox, on my dad's Xbox, and my first console was the Nintendo Wii with Mario Galaxy in 2006. One of my earliest PC games was probably Spore, which, by the way, we will be checking out in a future video, and so I can say I've played almost my entire life. Now, about a year ago, I played God of War 2018 on Steam. Back then, I didn't have a PS5, like I just showed you. So what I did is I gone to my old friend, the emulation space, and played the original God of War for the PlayStation 2. I didn't play any of the God of War games in my teens or so I didn't have any sort of nostalgia with it. And I think while I had fun with the game, it was pretty rough. And in comparison, after I played the new God of War games, it did feel outdated, and especially like the climbing mechanics. It was very, very often that the climbing has happened. The fighting was okay, so Pokemon games never evolved really in the last 75 years, and maybe except for the graphics and sound effects and music, but the core gameplay game loop is exactly the same as Pokemon Red and Blue and Pokemon Sword and Shield are essentially the same, or Pokemon Violet and Scarlet are essentially the same games. We of course had Sun and Moon, which was trying to be a bit of a change in terms of the game loop, but they immediately gone back to the new system, old system. So that is, and that's also probably why I think that Starfield feels a bit outdated. It feels like Skyrim in space, but the problem is Skyrim was also 12 years ago, and Skyrim aged, and video games still changed since then, and we have games like Cyberpunk and stuff, and for example, especially the loading screens that we had in Starfield, it's embarrassing a bit. Of course, modern games are not completely innocent, and they aren't completely perfect. We have examples like Modern Warfare 3, which is probably one of the worst games. It's probably the worst games in the Call of Duty franchise. Need for Speed had a rough time for the last 10 years or so, and it feels like nowadays no year goes by really without a AAA game being broken on release and being unfinished. And we of course had, as I said, Modern Warfare 3, Jedi Survivor this year. While it was good, it was a good game in its core. It was a really good game in my eyes in terms of story and stuff. It felt a bit, it was unfinished, definitely. Then there are also live service games, which I grow to hate even more. I'm really, really upset that apparently Rocksteady is going with this, with the Justice League game, with the Suicide Squad game. And because if you actually, especially because the Suicide Squad game was actually was teased in Batman Arkham Origins in the post-credit scene, if you didn't know about that. And it was actually teased as a way more gritty and dark themed game. And I really, really hope that because it is set in the Arkham universe, it's the same in the same universe as the Arkham games. I think I also read something about that the Suicide Squad game is like 3 months after Suicide Squad, after Arkham Knight. But on the other hand, you also have that indie games are getting better and better and better, and that on the independent side of gaming, you have a lot of good creative masterminds that are willing to put the art form of video games ahead of the money-making progress. Like, for example, well, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, I have to mention it again. Or Battlefield, for example, 2042 is also way worse than Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, because it tried to be a live service game and tried to be like fucking Fortnite. They changed the tone of the game, but still it's like, heh. So Battlefield for me always is like, you are one soldier of many. So you as a single person don't matter that much, but as a team you can, you have to work. So you have to work as a team to be really successful, and a good squad can decide the game. So because Forza Horizon 5, as you might know, since Forza Horizon 4 we have instead of car passes and car packs, we have a battle pass system since then, And the problem that I'm having with it is that it kind of puts you under pressure to play. You have to play the game to get new cars, or else you will be missing out on them for another year or so. War Thunder, if you played that, had this huge fallout in in May, and I don't like it because live service games video games shouldn't feel like work. Like they put you under pressure to play the game. What do you think? Do you think modern video games are worse than past video games, or do you think that video games nowadays are even better? Because even look at Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 was a game in 2018, was one of the best games of all time. God of War Ragnarok was insane. Spider-Man 2018 was Spider-Man 2 was probably insane because I haven't played it yet, but what I've heard is good, to say the least. And video games and indie games, especially Binding of Isaac stuff, even though that game is nearly 10 years ago, I think. It's really, really good. What do you think? Is modern video game worse? Write in the comments. I think